at once and out of here.
Increasing the efficiency of the system and protecting residents' assets is the goal of this and many other projects. It's a goal St. Charles Parish is committed to achieving.
We're always trying to make investments in our drainage infrastructure because we know that protecting your biggest investment, your home, is the most important thing that we can do. We're going to continue to do that every single day when we come to work.
Right.
Doing the Ironman before that. Yeah. Panama City.
Good evening and welcome to the St. Charles Parish Council meeting on Monday, August 14th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers in the parish courthouse. Please silence all electronic devices and remove all hats. This meeting is called to order with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance from Pastor Charles Johnson Sr. With Mount Zion Community Church in Booty.
Most gracious everlasting Father, Lord God Almighty, you are our maker, our creator, most our sustainer. It's in you that we move, breathe, and have our being. It's because of you we have eternal life through your Son, Jesus Christ. Father, we come right now, asking, Lord, look down upon us at this time, at this moment. Lord, that look and bless this meeting tonight, Father God, with your presence today. Lead our parish president and his council, Lord, to make good decisions, Lord, that rightly divide the word of truth today, Father God, to all your people today. We pray for traveling grace that you've given us. We pray for traveling grace when we leave this place. Most of all, Lord, we realize that we will never leave your presence today. Therefore, Lord, we just pray that you'll govern this meeting according to your will and according to your way. For these and all blessed, we pray in your name, and for your sakes we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Johnson. All right, first we have the approval of minutes. A motion and a second is needed to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of July 31st, 2023. I have a motion by Ms. Fonseca and a second by Ms. Belloc. Please cast your votes. And that passes unanimously. We will now move to special businesses, proclamations, canvasses, returns, etc. Item number 2023-0204, in recognition. Robert Tranchant, Jr., 100th birthday. Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In recognition, whereas Robert Bob Tranchant, Jr. was born in New Orleans, Louisiana on July 23, 1923, and has been a resident of Destrehan since 1988, and whereas Bob was married for 58 years to Gloria Locicero Tranchant, who passed away in December 2002. They were blessed with one son, Robert Tranchant III, who served in the Vietnam War from 1966 to 68, 10 grandchildren, and several great-grandchildren whom he enjoys spending time with. And whereas Bob attended Alcee Fortier High School for 3 years before leaving to join the United States Navy on December 13, 1941, he was an aviation machinist second class and took care of airplanes based on aircraft carriers. He was land-based during his entire period of service, stationed in San Diego, Daytona Beach, then the Panama Canal Zone until the end of World War II, when he was discharged in October 1945. And whereas Bob retired as an electrical contractor in 1990, he runs Bob's Produce, the Pineapple Express, and has been a fixture for the last 20 years as a vendor at the German Coast Farmers Market in Destrehan. He took up the hobby of raising pineapple plants and for the last 20 years has sold them as his main item. And whereas Bob celebrated his 100th birthday on July 23rd, 2023, when asked what his plans were for the next 100 years, he stated, "I will take it 1 year at a time. I will take care of my plants and keep putting them out until the last day." Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the parish president, do hereby offer this tribute and recognition to Robert Bob Transient Jr. on his 100th birthday. So I met Mr. Bob at the Farmers Market 20th anniversary in June, and he told me that his birthday was going to be in July and that he was turning 100. So when I decided to do this proclamation, I visited him again in July and learned that he was not aware of our Veterans Memorial Plaza that we just cut the ribbon on. And so he is a veteran, and so I purchased a brick for Mr. Bob that should be in before the end of the year, and it'll look something like this. But Mr. Bob and his family are here to accept this. Do one more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being recognized as a pineapple man. And I tell you what, it's not hard raising them. Anybody can do it. So my please appreciate my plaque, and certainly I really don't know what to say, and it takes a while. Seems like you have to be 100 years old nowadays to get anything done, but at least it's taken care of. Certainly appreciate that, and as far as the pineapple plants, just anytime you want one, you know where I am. Farmers Market, German Coast Farmers Market.
Yeah.
So once again, I certainly appreciate my plaque, and that's about all I can tell you. I'm just
Thank you so much, Mr. Transient. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I asked him one time what he's going to do when he hits 100. I'm going to start over.
Okay. Next, item number 2023-0205, in recognition, Mr. Donnie White. Mr. Dufresne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Parish of St. Charles, August 14, 2023, in recognition, whereas Mr. Donnie White, who is a resident of St. Charles Parish, residing in Paradise, Louisiana, with his wife of 45 years, Ms. Carol Lewis White. They are the proud parents of 4 children and proud grandparents of 12 grandchildren. And whereas, upon retiring from Occidental Chemical Corporation over 17 years ago, Mr. White became even more involved with his community, and whereas Mr. White served as constable for the District 4 for 12 years, he volunteers with St. Charles Social Services, is an active social services concern, thank you, Ms. Cluley, and is an active member of the Knights of Columbus in the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, RSVP. And whereas in 2021, Mr. White was recognized by the St. Charles Parish Rotary Club as their Citizen of the Year, which is given to someone who exemplifies the club's motto of service above self. And whereas Mr. White is a longtime parishioner of St. John the Baptist Catholic Church in Paradise, where he is a volunteer altar server and a Eucharistic minister. And whereas Mr. White has assisted for over a decade with the organizing and distribution of food assistance through the Second Harvest Food Bank. Once a month in the parking lot of St. John the Baptist Catholic Church, the food bank provides boxes of food to income-eligible families in the parish experiencing a food crisis. And whereas Mr. White is a dedicated member of his community and relentless in his efforts to give back what his community has given him. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby express our sincere thanks and appreciation to my friend, Mr. Donnie White, for his continued dedication and service to St. Charles Parish. And Mr. Donnie's here. And his wife serves on the Community Action Advisory Board, so they both give of their time lots.
Take one. Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody for the plaque, and I just love feeding people and giving back to the community, and I really appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. White, and thank you, Mr. Dufresne. Okay, item number 2023-0206, in recognition, Lori Lyons, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame inductee. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. St. Charles Parish in recognition. Whereas Ms. Lori Lyons is a resident of St. Charles Parish, residing in Norco, Louisiana, with her husband, Marty Laquette. They are the proud parents of one son, Daniel, and daughters, Courtney and Laura Lee. And whereas Ms. Lyons received her bachelor's degree from Loyola University, where she studied journalism. And whereas over approximately 3 decades, Ms. Lyons had the privilege of covering River Parish athletics, and for more than 20 years, she covered the prep sports beat for the Times-Picayune, the first full-time female sports writer in the newspaper's history, starting as an A-gate clerk to become a writer. And whereas Ms. Lyons covered sports and news for a variety of publications, including the New Orleans Advocate, SportsNola.com, The Observer, and the St. Charles Herald Guide for a total of 30 years. And whereas over the years, Ms. Lyons has covered some of the greatest athletes in the region's history, such as LaRon and DeJuan Landry of Hahnville, and Ed Reed and Kirk Merritt of Destrehan. And whereas Ms. Lyons, the longtime journalist, was inducted into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, where the Louisiana Sports Writers Association has honored her with the 2022 Distinguished Service Award in Sports Journalism. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the parish president, do hereby offer this recognition to Ms. Lori Lyons, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame inductee, 2022 Distinguished Service Award in Sports Journalism. And I believe Ms. Lyons is here. Come on up.
I'd just like to thank the St. Charles Parish Council and Mr. Fisher. This is like the candle and the icing of a very big cake. It is an extraordinary experience to be honored for your life's work by the people who do the same job that you do. I was voted for this award by my peers in the Louisiana Sports Writers Association. And last week was I think it was last week. It's been a blur. The Hall of Fame induction in Natchitoches. I want to urge everyone, if you ever get a chance, to go to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame in Natchitoches. It is a beautiful building, and you can see my picture on the wall for a year, and my name on the wall forever, which is another thing that is absolutely extraordinary, that my name will be there forever. And also tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on Louisiana Public Broadcasting will be the highlight show. You can skip the bowling part. I did not do well at bowling. And I thank you for this. I just rearranged Marty's and my trophy wall, and I got a great spot for it. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lyons, and thank you, Mr. Fisher. Item number 2023-0207, in recognition, Kenny Winning Jr., St. Charles Parish Communications District. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Parish of St. Charles Parish Council and Parish President deeply appreciate your years of service for the St. Charles Parish Communications District. Kenny Winning Jr., St. Charles Parish Council Representative, August 19th, 2022 to July 17th, 2023. Chief Wennon was on his way. He may have got hung up, but I just want to say a little something about Chief Wennon. I've known Kenny for almost 19 years. I've had the privilege of serving on the Norco Fire Department with him as my fire chief for the last 10. Unfortunately, like I said, him and his family are moving across the lake. So we're going to lose him. We're going to lose a guy who's dedicated his life to the fire service in St. Charles, but he won't be far. He still works at Valero, so we'll always have him to call on him. So wanted to give him this honor, thank him for his service. I'll make sure he gets his plaque.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Item number 2023-0208, proclamation, National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day. Proclamation. Whereas August 21st is recognized as National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day, created by families impacted by fentanyl deaths and grassroots organizations bringing awareness to the dangers of illicit fentanyl, and by joining the many voices dedicated to educating the public on the serious dangers of fentanyl poisoning from fake pills and other illicit drugs. Whereas fentanyl is the single deadliest drug threat to our nation that has ever encountered, from large cities to rural America, no community is safe from its presence. And whereas fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that is approximately 50 times more potent than heroin and 200 times more potent than morphine. And whereas fentanyl is inexpensive, widely available, highly addictive, and potentially lethal, drug traffickers are increasingly mixing it with other illicit drugs to drive addiction to create repeat customers. Where victims are unaware that fentanyl is a substance they are ingesting, and whereas, according to the CDC, an estimated 107,622 people in the United States died of drug overdoses and poisonings in 2021, with 67% of those deaths involving synthetic opioids like fentanyl, with only 2 milligrams of fentanyl being a potentially lethal dose. And whereas the Drug Enforcement Association has created a special exhibit to its museum, The Faces of Fentanyl, to commemorate the many lives lost from fentanyl poisoning. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby proclaim August 21st, 2023 as National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day in St. Charles Parish, and call upon any citizen who has lost a loved one to fentanyl to submit their name and photo to the fentanyl awareness at DEA.gov or post a photo and their name to social media. Special Exhibit Museum. I believe we have Captain Derek Pertwee to accept.
Just in this calendar year, we've had 13 deaths that we directly linked to fentanyl. It's obviously a pandemic throughout the country, and we're fighting on our front lines every day. We appreciate the parish's support from the council and President Jew. We also have deployed Narcan, which is something that can reverse the effects of fentanyl. And this year, we've administered approximately 50 doses with about 30 reversals of that. So we appreciate everything, and thank you all for it.
Thank you. I have been informed that Mr. Kenny Winning Jr. is in the room. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief, I'd like you to come up for a second, please.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Winning. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. A deviation from the regular order of the agenda has been requested. A motion and a second is needed to deviate from the regular order of the agenda to take up file number 2023-0217, a matter not on the agenda. In recognition, New Orleans DFC UY17 girls soccer team. A motion by Mr. Fisher, and I have a second by Ms. Gordon, to deviate from the regular order of the agenda to take up file number 2023-0217. If there is anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this deviation, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment on the deviation is closed. Any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes on the deviation only. And that passes unanimously. Okay, item number 2023-0217, in recognition, New Orleans DFC UY17 girls soccer team. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I want to recognize our New Orleans DFC 17 girls soccer team comprised of 20 very talented athletes, 10 of which are from St. Charles Parish, led by Coach Edgar Fuentes and Coach Eric DeSoto. These ladies played in the Louisiana Competitive Soccer League and won their division this year. They went on to the Louisiana President's Cup and won with a combined 13 goals and only 1 goal against, qualifying them to represent Louisiana at the Regional President's Cup in Greenville, South Carolina. After 5 days of play at the regional event, They won the South Region President's Cup and went on to represent Louisiana in Wichita, Kansas at the National President's Cup. They are the first team in Louisiana soccer history to break the bracket and make it into the semifinals at the National President's Cup. And just to give you an idea of the National President's Cup, that's over 5,000 teams across the U.S. start this journey for the President's Cup. 96 teams across all age groups make the National President's Cup, but only 8 teams from the U17 girls age group. New Orleans DFC won 2 games and lost 1 in the bracket, which allowed them to advance to the semifinals. This makes them the first team in all of Louisiana soccer history, again, to break that bracket and to make it to the semifinals at the National President's Cup. Unfortunately, the girls did lose a hard-fought battle in the semifinal, 2-1, but this is still such an incredible accomplishment, again, as the first Louisiana team to do this. I want to recognize the players: Addison Agnelli, Hahnville High School; Adeline Bersuter, HHS; Alina Paez; Ashley Montoya; Ashlyn DeSoto, also a Hahnville High School student; AJ Young, Brooke Lede, DHS; Gabrielle Touchard, HHS; Kaylin Bibbins; Kira Herman; Layla Harwell; Lily Hooper, HHS; Madeline Long; Madeline Long; Madeline Cantrell; Mia Ganote, St. Charles Catholic; Riley False, HHS; Tatiana Brown, DHS; Taylor Madair, HHS; Valeria Gabri, and Vanessa Aguilar. I'm sorry if I mess up any of your names. But we have a special plaque recognizing your accomplishments, and we also have individual certificates for y'all. If y'all want to come up, we'll take a little picture. Coaches, too. Make sure our coaches are here. Get us in.
Might have to score a song in there.
All the tall ladies around.
Perfect. All right. One more.
They have something for the council members.
Oh, okay. They can do that as well.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right. I was not told I was going to have to talk this afternoon, but first of all, I just want to say thank you. I'm the head coach at Hahnville High School for the girls program, and I want to commend St. Charles Parish. Y'all do a great job at celebrating our youth's success, their victories, whether it's on the classroom or on the field. Y'all do a heck of a job. Seriously, I live in Kenner. No, this happens. These girls embody the meaning of resiliency. 2 seasons ago, we lost the state championship game, and instead of them putting their head down, they vowed to come back, and man, did they make a run. They worked their butts off. Nothing was handed to them. They knew what it took to get to where they got. We took it to everybody. 13 goals again. I mean, in fact, that we scored. We only gave up 1. We went on to regionals. Nobody gave us a shot because teams from Louisiana are not successful. We proved everybody wrong. And we made it all the way to semifinals. So this is the true value of sports, at least in my opinion. Resiliency, never put your head down. Even when they beat you down, get back up. And once again, thank you guys for this opportunity. Congratulations, ladies.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Coach?
Okay, a second and a motion and a second is needed to return to the regular order of the agenda. I have a motion by Mr. Fisher and a second by Ms. Gordon. Please cast your vote. And that passes unanimously. All right, moving on to reports, finance, and administrative activities. Item number 2023-0209, Council on St. Charles Council on Aging, April Keller. Hello, Ms. Keller.
Good afternoon. I'm here to present our annual report. You've got it, Michelle. And I apologize, when I recorded it, I went down the bayou. So, I'm sorry.
The accent lingered, I live on the bayou, that's not a problem.
I live on the right bayou.
2023 Annual Report for fiscal year 2023, Council on Aging provided the following services. 100 hot, nutritious meals were served Monday through Friday at the Luland Center. Educated 406 seniors in ways to protect their property and their person. Over 1,500 activities to support, improve mental health and physical well-being with the Walk with Ease program. $100 meals were delivered to homebound clients. Over 7,000 hours of light housekeeping. The medical team caregivers with over 1,000 hours of care for their loved ones in order to give them a brief period of rest. Distributed over 800 information pamphlets to keep seniors updated on services they may qualify for. Southeast Louisiana Legal Services provided seniors from St. Charles Parish with 33 hours of free legal advice, counseling, and representation. They also provided the Ask a Lawyer program every third Wednesday at the center for 10:30 a.m. Council on Aging assisted Catholic Charities with distributing over 500 commodity boxes. Agent provided 5 clients with a medical alert system. This is the help I've fallen and I can't get up button. 41 clients pay for the units themselves at a discount rate by going through the Council on Aging. Seniors with over 5,000 hours of personal care assistance. Over 5,000 hours of individual and group activities were provided. Center managers kept in contact with 54 clients who haven't yet returned from the COVID. And provided over 12,000 rides. Were assisted through the Power to Care program with $59,000 paid on their light bills. To learn more about the Power to Care program or to donate, check out energy.com. $3.9 million in revenue. Expenses was over $5.8 million. Here's Council on Aging has to put all the services we provide out for bid. For July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2027, Trio Community Meals in Harvey will provide catered meals for congregate and home delivery. These meals are very tasty. Please come by our center and taste for yourself. The medical team will continue providing health promotion and disease prevention, which is the Walk with Ease, homemaker, respite, and personal care services. Seniors can get an Acadian on-call medical alert system at a discount rate by going through the Council on Aging. "2023 is the new date of substantial completion for the new building on Judge Edward Dufresne Parkway. Companies in the parish, St. Charles Council on Aging is now hiring. We need 5 home delivered meal drivers, a maintenance worker, a center aide, a finance manager, an activities manager. To apply, come to 150 Trosclair Lane, Destrehan, Louisiana. Thank you.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It didn't say, you just said 2023 is for when the completion date would be for the new center? What?
We anticipating Pentel coming at our meeting Thursday and requesting an extension until August 31st. The part that connects energy into the building had not yet been received. The part is now on site, and tomorrow they're going to start connecting it.
Awesome. Thank you. Is there any additional council discussion?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Moving to item number 2023-0210, Department of Waterworks. Mr. Gordon.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Michelle's coaching me on this as I just, there we go. Thank you. Good evening, members of the council. Greg Gordon, Director, Department of Waterworks. So our mission, obviously, is to provide a sufficient supply of safe drinking water and water for fire protection to citizens of St. Charles Parish. We have 61 staff members within the department. Give you a breakdown there. Total budget from 2022 was $14,821,000. The total assets of $49 million. We serve 52,282 customers. We have the capacity to treat 19 million gallons a day. Obviously, our highest consumption day last year was Christmas Eve at 13.4 million gallons. We total treated was 2.8 billion gallons of drinking water. Kind of give you some production stats. Really, since regulatory is a huge part of what we do, the treatment plant operators and operators all throughout the system collect a large number of samples every day during their shifts. The meters read that we read monthly to 24,641. Now that does also include vacants, and which we have to check every month. And so that's really the total number of meters in the ground. The work orders we completed, 28 at the plant, 1,996 within the distribution system. Those are typically leaks, customer leaks, and 16,718 meter calls. So our meter reading stats, just kind of quickly again, average sales per month, 1,083,000. Water sales, 17% is commercial, 41% industrial, and 42% residential. Our pay methods for the customers, 19% use bank drafting, 21% send in good old mail, 28% online, and 32% in person. The accounts read are 263,206 over the years. The number of rereads were 32,316, so that's about 12%. And the number of rereads for inconsistencies, typically high usage, was 4,783, 1.82%. So the automatic meter reading project that we've been doing, that was also going to talk a little more later about this. Obviously, the benefits of it: improved accuracy, greater transparency for the customers, real-time data, track total system usage by billing area. We can have mobile work orders, which would be a big efficiency, which we cannot enjoy right now. Reduce staffing to read the meters and to bring the metering process up to date. It will entail the installation of 17,000 new meters and the installation of base stations and multiple repeaters throughout the parish. The project goal, obviously, to install the fixed base remote and read water meters to every Waterworks customer. So the type of water meters in brackets are 22 numbers. The manual reads were 10,606. With the program, we've got that down to 4,478. The drive-by were 6,321. We're down to 5,766. And the fixed base went from 7,086 to 13,172. Just FYI, the 2022 numbers also include a lot of the vacants and accounts that we check monthly that nobody's at that residence. The total project cost is $7 million. You can see the breakdown from the last few fiscal years, finishing with a proposed project budget of $1.5 million in FY 2024. This slide just kind of gives you an update. This is kind of what pedal valves presented to us on a daily basis. So it's very detailed relative to all the meters that were put in, the type of meter installed, the numbers remaining. So we got a very detailed report from pedal valves. So phase one dealt with Muntz and Norco, where 6,734 meters were installed. Phase two, which was recently completed, was New Sarpy and Destrehan, 3,700. And phase three, with 3,000, will wrap up with Biogosh, Desalmans, Paradis, Bouty, and Luling. It's kind of just a basic little picture of what's going on. IDA repairs. So the West Bank Billing Office and Treatment Plant repairs are in progress. The contractor, Pintail, is making excellent progress with that. We hope to really be back into our office by September, October of this year, which will be will be improved, especially for our customers. The East Bank Treatment Plant repairs, the bid opening is scheduled for the 31st of this month, and the East Bank River Intake repair, it's not plans, sorry. Plans and specifications are going to be completed by the end of this month. They have been doing all the permitting with the U.S. Corps of Engineers. There's a lot of work to be done since the river, and that's taken quite a bit of time. Just kind of gives you an idea of what's going on at the West Bank Billing Office repairs. The whole building's been gutted, the ceiling all taken out. We're having to redo all of the wiring to bring it back up to code, the current code. So it's been a lot of work, but it's going to be a big improvement, again, especially for our customers and the staff. So another thing I kind of wanted to bring up, Waterworks does a cost analysis every year. We complete 30 separate cost analysis based on an annual basis. 25 of those are a fee rate analysis, and 5 are operating cost analyses. The year-to-year comparisons of the department's cost to provide services contrasted to the cost to provide essential services. So why do we kind of conduct this analysis every year? First, it shows a serious financial stewardship of the public assets. When the department quotes an amount to a customer to provide a service, be that a residential, a commercial, industrial customer, it's backed up by hard financial data. It's an important piece for us for budgeting and financial planning purposes. It provides accurate costs of services to the residential, commercial, industrial customers, and it's an accurate tracking of comparison cost data points. So the impact of equipment and appurtenances changes for installations and repairs, for example, and all the way down to the cost to produce a gallon of potable water. The billing software upgrade, which we're currently in the middle of. So the department signed a contract with MutiLink for a real-time online billing payment and customer account portal. The new online billing system will be available to residents in early 2024. The new billing system will improve system access for the customers. It'll make and schedule payments easier, view live account balances and billing history, which is a huge issue. People call for account balances all the time because they can't really see them right now. So when we have that online, it'll make a big difference. It'll really make customers access to the data quick. Customize alerts for due dates and outages. Service initiation and termination and paperless billing will be more straightforward and user-friendly. Now, some of the efficiencies, kind of back of house for the staff, less manual entry of payments, which will mean no delay for the customer. When they pay it, it will show up. We don't have to go do that manually, which it takes a lot of time currently. Importing all the general ledger transactions, it eliminates what is currently a manual process. Also, electronic service orders, so it'll transmit the service orders in real time, eliminating trips to and from the office. Currently, if we have an issue with a meter or a customer calls in, we generate that work order, the distribution crew has to come in, get the piece of paper, and go out. This will be able to send it via text. When they're in the field, if something's happening in real time, they can get out there. It's not even if someone calls up with something and they have to come all the way in and find out about it. So it'll make things a lot easier from that side of things. And I believe we have something you want to continue with Ms. Melanie.
Hello, Council. My name is Melanie Caillouet with All South Consulting, and I did finish the water bill audit, and so I'm here to report on that today. So the first thing that I did as part of the audit was to randomize the accounts and get it down to a number of accounts to analyze because you do have so many customers. Right now, the billings in St. Charles is set up on 8 different cycles. So what we decided to do was pull 5 accounts for each of the 3 different types of meters from each of those cycles to make sure that we got a really good spread both on location and on the meters themselves. We did stick with the 3/4 inch meters, which is your typical meter for a residential household. In some cases, the cycles, we did not have 5 3/4 inch meters that we could use, so we did go with the bigger meters for those accounts. We did toss out the ones that were not in operation in June of both 2022 and 2023 because we wanted to compare data. So we wanted to make sure that we had as much data as possible in this analysis. The first thing we did was we compared the consumption for each of the different types of meters from 2022 to 2023. This was to look at if the consumption increased due to temperature or anything of that nature. And if you look across, you'll actually see that it decreased in between 2022 and 2023. This seemed a little off, but when you really think about it, it's not, because you had an 8% increase in rates in January, which is a large increase. And so typically in the past, when you have a large increase, people start reducing the amount of consumption to try to get their bill back to where it was. So that decrease should have been expected. We also spoke with Jefferson Parish and got some numbers from the city of Kenner to see how your consumption compared to theirs. And so in 2022, their residences had an average consumption of 5,600 gallons per month. And your residences on average for 2022 was 6,169. And for 2023, they were 5,353, and you were 5,653. So really, y'all were pretty doggone close on between Kenner and St. Charles. The next thing we did was look at the meter accuracy. There was some concern that the accuracy of the new meters wasn't quite there, that's why you were having an increased bill. So St. Charles pulled 6 manual meters out of the ground, 8 AMRs, which are your drive-bys, and 10 AMIs, which are your fixed base, the ones that you just put in. They tested them at 3 different flows. And as you can see in the manual group, the flows for low flow was in between 0 and 74%. What that means is that, and I'll tell you, on those manuals, those 5 had 0 flow when they pushed 0.25 gallons per minute through it. It registered nothing. Only one of those 6 actually registered something. And so when you look at the accuracy across the board, the manuals were up to 35% inaccurate. Your AMRs were 3.1% inaccurate, and your AMIs are 0.9% inaccurate. So you could see that what y'all are doing by putting in the AMIs is helping to grab all of the consumption that's actually being used. So one of the things that we were concerned about was how the customers that had manual meters and now have AMI meters. Yeah, I wanted to look at the meters that were switched from manual read to AMIs to see how their consumptions changed based upon their meter readings. These are the 15 accounts that did happen with. And so their meters did see about 1,000 gallon increase for the month. And some of this increase, the increase is really because of the accuracy of the meters. That's really what it is. We looked at your summer versus winter comparison to see if part of the problem was that the increase was caused by it being summertime and them being used to seeing their winter bill. There at your residential rate, your average is about 460 gallons more for the summertime. So there's not a large difference there. And then we started looking at your water and sewer fees. So your average bill for June of 23 for a residence was 45.96 gallons per month. I took that number and I applied your water and your sewer bill fees to it from 2022 and 2023. And so between the 2 years, there was an increase of about $4 for that because of just rates in general being added to the being increased. So here is the slide that everybody wants to see. This is what happened, how it all affects your bills. So your first line, your average consumption, it decreased in between 2022 and 2023. So it actually brought your bill down by $6. If you had a meter that was a manual meter and now you have an AMI, that brought it up by about 12. If you're comparing your winter to summer months, that brought you up another 5. The 35-day cycle. So there's months that on your bill that it's only 28 days. There's other months that are only 35 days. So both in June was actually a 35-day cycle. And so you have, if you compare it to a 28-day, you have 7 extra days on that bill. And if that happens, you have another $13 that's added to your bill. And then finally, your rate increase brings it up another 4. So in total, if perfect storm happens, that you're comparing a winter bill and you were on a manual read meter and it was a 28-day cycle, and now you're looking at your June bill would be about $29 more. So we did look at your consumption, your average monthly consumption, because we wanted to see if your consumptions were increasing over time or whatnot. And like I said earlier, your consumption was $45.96 for June of 2023. This is from 2010, and as you can see, you're right in line with where you've been for the last 10 years or so. And that's all I have. I know I went through it rather quickly. If y'all want to see any of the slides again, I could back up for you. I do have your report. They have a copy for each of you that's going to be passed out before the end of the meeting, where you could look at it in detail. But if there's any questions, I'm more than willing to answer.
Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure if you totally addressed my question from the last meeting about the 35 days. You can let me know if it does. But the question that was posed to me by a resident was, being that, give me a slide. After 6,000 gallons, the rate changes.
Yes, it does.
In a 35-day versus a 30-day, are they paying a higher rate for the extra 5 days if they go over the 6,000 gallons?
Yes, if they're in a 35-day cycle, and say at day 30 they were under 6,000, and at day 35 they were above, anything that they were above, they are paying the higher rate on.
How do we fix that? Because it's not their fault that we're using a 35-day cycle. So is there a way that we can correct that?
I'm going to let either Jessica from your Water Works Department, because this is a conversation that's being had by multiple parties, and so she, I believe, has a plan in place or working toward a plan.
Excellent.
Hi, I'm Jessica Nakan, Utility Billing Coordinator for Department of Waterworks. With that 35-day billing cycle, we do have those tiers. What we have, and I think Melanie's shown y'all the numbers of the average monthly consumption for a resident. If they're using above and they're hitting that 6,000 mark, they're consuming a large amount of water. Now, do we want to relook at what our averages might have been over time? I think we can. And I think we can maybe increase that tier a little bit. That tier was also always supposed to be for smaller families, people who don't use a lot of water, who need to save, and so they were in that smaller tier. And the higher tiers were mainly meant for commercial and industrial, and you build the businesses rather than the residents and hurt the residents. That is in place due to an ordinance that was created back in 2015. I started with Waterworks at the end of 17, beginning of 18. But that ordinance is still in existence, and that's what we use to bill people. Not only the billing rates, but also those tiers. So if you would want to revisit that, that would almost be us having to revise or recreate a new ordinance for that billing system.
I'm not okay with someone being charged a higher rate those extra 5 days when they wouldn't have been had the billing cycle cut off at 30 days. So don't know. I guess y'all are discussing possible solutions for that.
It would have to be a new ordinance.
Even if it's just $13, that's just not fair to do that to the consumer.
Jessica, do you want to just mention why some days are 28, why some days are 35, just to explain the billing cycle a little bit?
So I know you guys probably have all seen a copy of the billing schedule, which is kind of complicated. You have 52 weeks. You have 52 weeks in the year. You have 12 months that you have to bill residents. So you have to bill them 12 times. You also cannot lock them off for non-payment more than 12 times in a year. You can't penalize them more than 12 times in a year. We have 8 billing cycles that we do 2 cycles each week. And then every day of the week, you're basically essentially doing a job. So on Mondays, we send our meter readers out to read those meters. We bring them in-house. On Tuesdays, we charge penalties for bills that would have been due the previous Friday. On Wednesdays, we turn off accounts due to non-payment. On Thursdays, we're usually reopening accounts, but we're also creating the bills for another billing cycle. On Fridays is our due dates. You also have holidays in there where our workers are off of work and you're having to rearrange all of the work that should have gotten done Monday through Friday, which can't get done because you don't have that day. So you're catching up or you're trying to get it to where you're ahead of the game. It makes it incredibly difficult to create a billing schedule. We can't just say on the 30th of every month we're going to bill these 2 cycles and it's going to be the same consistently no matter what. With the way that we operate, with our office hours, with our holiday days. It's just, if we had everything on fixed base, maybe in the perfect world, eventually we can get there, but right now with all of the work that goes on behind the scenes, it's impossible to do anything besides what we're doing now.
So the conversations that you're having aren't about making changes to make it more accurate?
Everything's accurate.
I mean, let me rephrase. More accurate as if it were just a 30-day billing rate.
The only way we can do that is if we increase the tiers. If that's our biggest issue is going above that 6,000 mark, then we would have to redo the ordinance. The ordinance is in place, and until that changes, we can only follow what's written in there.
So if we increase the tiers, then less revenue comes in, then the rates have to go up.
We're talking about a very, very small amount of people that break that 6,000 within our residential communities. And again, the majority of the money we make is through our industrial. It's those large plants that use the majority of the water in our parish.
Help if we had the number of total resident meters and then the number of the ones that do break the 6,000 in the 35-day billing cycle.
Yeah, we can come up with a percentage of who actually breaks that threshold.
It's not affecting a large group.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it would just need to be represented to council, and council would have to approve that change. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Ms. Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I'm a little bit confused, but let me ask this first question first. The new billing software upgrade, when the residents are making their payments online, will they have the additional service fee? So they're still going to have a service fee?
They will. That's not a waterworks charge. That is that vendor's charge for using their service. It also goes into the cost of saying PCI compliant, which is whenever you're dealing with credit cards and you're entering that information, it all gets encrypted. Those companies are the ones who store that information. We couldn't pull up a credit card information on one customer if we tried to. That's not stored in our system or in our location. That fee is the cost of them doing it. We could talk about absorbing that cost, but then again, the cost of operations would go up. That averages about $20,000 a month right now, cost-wise. Okay. And customers do have the option for free services. If they want to do an auto draft, that's completely free. If they want to still drop off their payment at our location or through the mail, that's also free.
Okay. All right. So my next question, the audit that was done. So this was just a random audit that was done. So it wasn't the audits that were done on residents who had the high water bills.
We looked into each one of those individually. So if they had a complaint, if they pulled something, we were able to pull those people as well, and they were looked at individually, separate from the audit. The audit was random, to where it didn't matter who was being pulled. You were grabbing something from every cycle.
Okay, so each resident, because I saw one resident whose bill was $80 last month, and it was $1,000 this month.
That indicates a leak. That indicates something happened.
She
where
had
it reported that large amount of water.
To go over to the house, and she was in the hospital half the month, but she did have a plumber to go over. Now, that was in Hornville, but then I also saw one in Monts that had 1,300 usage for last month, and then this month, the usage was 18,000.
So I talked to that customer today. We provided them with an hour-by-hour printout. There was a time where there was, and she's, I believe, living with a daughter right now. So we are going to be working with that. One of the things is that if you look at the hour-by-hour usage, it's 0 when they weren't there. When it was turned on, it was 150 gallons an hour for days and days and days. What we typically do to help with people of this is that we have usually the head of our meter reading crew or any of the other technicians can do this. We turn it off at the meter. We have them turn it off at their house or their residence, make sure nothing else is on, then turn both back on and see if the meter spins. If it's spinning, that means there's something going on. And so we try to walk through every situation with every customer. We're not here to take their money, cheat them out of anything. If there's anything that is wrong on our side of it, we'll always make it right with the customer.
Okay, so all of the residents who had the high water bills have been spoken to and consulted?
Yes, we've been dealing with
everything?
one-on-one. I almost talked to every one of them. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mr. Jewell?
All right, so I think Melanie mentioned in the report that the average gallons for the June 2023, average consumption was 4,500 gallons. So the average resident was well below that threshold where they would go into that next bracket. Obviously, we know that since it's an average, we did have some people higher and we had some people lower. And Melanie, also, I think you mentioned that 4,500 gallons was in line with our consistent usage going all the way back to about 2016. Was that what was in the report?
Yes, sir. In 2015, it was 4602, so it was only 5 gallons more than what you have now.
So I think I just want to kind of dispel that, because I think when you look at social media and things, or what's being said on social media, you might think the average usage for the month of, or the average consumption for the month of June 2023 was 25,000 gallons, but really it was only 4,500 gallons, which was in line. There were a lot of people who had high usage for multiple factors. I can tell you that working through the people who've contacted Waterworks, who didn't realize that their irrigation was on a timer and they didn't see how much water they were using when that irrigation system was going off. But without switching to digital meters, we can't see what their usage is. If they have a high bill, it's just, that is what it is. With these new meters, we're able to see in exactly hour by hour, like Greg was saying, and find out when the water was being used, when it wasn't being used. And the only way that meter registers water is if water passes through. I just want to talk really quick about the new billing software, because Holly, you mentioned, what are we doing to look at people who potentially go over? I think Jessica is going to try to find us that number on how many people that actually is. But the new billing software provides us a lot of those efficiencies that we're doing right now that are taking up our time and adding to that billing cycle length. So we can shorten that billing cycle. Another thing that we're doing, and all this is designed, is to help automate us on the Waterworks side, the back end, and on the front end to give our customers a better experience. One of the things that we're working with the billing software company is flat rate billing, like Entergy does, levelized billing. And if you go to a levelized bill, that takes care of the cycle right then and there. So there's a couple of things that we're doing to look at it. Obviously, we want to get to a place where we have a consistent bill, but what I'm going to say that we should be doing right now, and what I've already instructed my folks to do, is to start taking a look at the water brackets as much as we can. Do we have the ability to raise that to from 6,000 to 8,000? And if we raise that to 8,000, what is that? How many customers does that help? Additionally, what does it do to our overall revenues? I think we ought to look at water rates, because I think the unintended consequence of this ordinance, again, which was done in 2015, essentially gives our water rates to Washington, D.C. So whatever the CPI is in the month of, I think it's September. Is it September? The month of September is what the rates get automatically adjusted by. Instead of us controlling that, instead of us at least going to a flat rate of 1% or 1.5%, whatever happens in Washington, D.C., however much money they print is what affects us here locally. So I think we ought to take a look at that ordinance and make some wholesale changes to it. And I think we need to take an overall look at just the general water rates to see what we can do, how much money we can come off of those rates, and still make sure that we're covering the cost of our operations, covering the cost of our bonds, and then covering the cost of potential future capital investments. I've already instructed my folks to start taking a look at that, and I look forward to working with the council on making some of these changes.
Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you. Melanie, you mentioned the 8% rate increase in January.
Yes.
Are rates now equal to what your recommended rate was in your report?
I did not recommend a rate. This report was just to see where the increases came from. I would usually do a rate study to go ahead and recommend rates.
Isn't that annual though?
No, annually I do an engineer's report, which is required by your bond ordinance. to verify that that y'all have the ability to pay those bonds back. So it's that's
When's
all.
the
I'm
last
looking
time
for.
you did a rate study? You remember?
It was last year because we did it as part of your water sector program.
Okay, so it's recent.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Greg, we used to get a monthly report from you guys on every customer that called you or had a leak, or we used to get it. I don't know. I haven't seen it this year yet, but it used to be a pretty detailed report, like what it was. They had a problem, was a credit, cooling water tower credits, things like that. Also used to get it for wastewater too. If you guys had a problem, did we stop doing that report, or we're just?
It wasn't being done when I was appointed and came on. I was unaware of that. I can go back and get some old copies, and we can start doing that. That's perfectly fine. And actually, it would be better because it would answer questions that you guys get from constituents, and you would have the answers in front of you. And especially if it's a constituent may come back to you on multiple times with the same issue or something, you can see if it wasn't being addressed, or maybe the department's not addressing it. We need to work harder. I'd be more than happy to do that. Transparency, we have to be that way, especially with our customers.
I'd like to see that report again because it was really beneficial for me looking at it because I could see what was going on in my district if people were having concerns and then what your response was. So I think that would be really good for us so we could do that. And I'm going to give you a ballpark question. What does it cost us to make a gallon of potable water? We had a price in here that says, what's the price of potable water?
$7 a gallon.
$7 a gallon for us to provide safe drinking water. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Belloc.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Greg, my question's a little different.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to know, like, all across the country, we've been having water issues underwater lines, right? And lead, whatever, they've been having issues with it. How are ours doing?
So the lead line survey, the lead rule was just instituted by the EPA, and Louisiana Department of Health is just initiating this process. This next year, we will be doing a lead line survey. There's various requirements that we have to, and they talk about service lines also. So there's a whole program that we're going to have to live up to. I can email you all the information that we have that we're going to have to provide. It's going to be a public document. We are going to have to start talking to the members of the council about the results of those lead line surveys. It's going to be a very intensive multi-year process.
Okay, and
we don't install any lead or anything. We don't use lead in our water lines.
It was just a couple of different things that I was going through with the water lines. Even as far as fluoride, you put fluoride in the water?
Oh, yes, we do.
Do you know how much?
I get you all the details, but we actually do a report to Louisiana Department of Health every year on fluoridation, and I can make that available to you. It's part of our consumer confidence report, which is posted online, which we're required to provide to every customer. We post it because of the number of customers that we have. We don't, some smaller issues, smaller entities will mail it out. But yeah, we actually win an award every year for fluoride.
I remember a couple of years ago, some years ago, that our water was one of the best in St. Charles Parish. Where is it rated now?
Well, we excuse me? In the whole Southeast. So we received an A on our water grade. Our water performed very well at all the taste tests. Sometimes those are a little regionally weighted when you go to a conference, but we won all of our regional awards from our region, this area. We won and we submitted for the taste test. So,
all right,
yes,
thank
ma'am.
you.
All right, thank you. Is there any additional from council? All right, thank you very much, Mr. Gordon. Okay, item number 2023-0211, the parish president remarks and report. Mr. Jewell.
You're running it over there? Okay. I don't know. I don't. Okay. First, we had the West Bank Bridge Park groundbreaking. This is a project long in the making. We will be installing two turf infields on 1 and 2, all new fencing. We will be redoing our grass outfields along with the irrigation system. We will do new LED scoreboards, backstops, dugouts, shaded patron areas, as well as, what do we have here? As well as advanced LED lighting on metal poles. Obviously, poles after Hurricane Ida, wooden poles were heavily damaged, so we're glad to see that resiliency going into the West Bank Bridge Park. Over to the West Bank Splash Park, we also broke ground on the same day on a 4,635 square foot swamp-themed spray park, 25 water features, 6 shade sails, 12 benches, and 85 parking spaces. And that is going to be hopefully open summer of 2024. Additionally, there's going to be a bathroom area as well as a part of that park. So 2 large investments into recreation underway. Want to show you Badalamenti. That was the Badalamenti building after Hurricane Ida, obviously very damaged. And then we recently completed the building, and we will have some extra storage area now for recreation, which is desperately needed. If you've opened one of the closets at the Edward A. Dufresne Community Center, it is packed from floor to the ceiling with items. So this is going to be a big improvement for us to be able to store our equipment in a climate-controlled environment. Over to the Bootsy Park restoration, we did put some information out that the bathroom is closed for upgrades. They'll be repainting the bathroom as well as redoing the signage, the fixtures, and redoing the floors to an epoxy floor. Paul Mallard Road, this is just a reminder that the traffic plan went into effect today. So again, beginning today, Paul Mallard Road between Blueberry and Angus Drive is northbound only. We worked extensively with all of the stakeholders, from ambulance to hospitals to fire department, sheriff's office, schools, you name it, trash collection, to provide the best, the optimal traffic plan for folks. We want to make sure we want to maintain access to the hospital, and that's why you'll be able to get to the hospital from both directions. This is phase 1 of 3 phases. It's an 80-20 split. It's an RPC project, and again, they'll be covering the ditches, adding sidewalks to both sides, and really just making a nice enhancement. That's a little over $10 million to that phase of Paul Mallard. Again, 80-20 split. St. Charles Parish is under a burn ban. In fact, now the entire state is under a burn ban. And we just want to remind residents to not do any open-air burning. They are allowed to use barbecue pits and other normal burning instances, but we have severe drought conditions currently, and we want to make sure that we don't unnecessarily cause fires that cause our fire department to have to respond. Over on Highway 90, after meeting with our business owners, and as you know, we are looking to do an overlay district to improve the Highway 90 corridor. One of the main things that came out of our discussion over and over again was that they wanted this corridor along the railroad tracks to be cleaned up. There are a lot of fallen trees, a lot of debris and litter left from Hurricane Ida. And so we worked with DOTD and BNSF to work with BNSF to start a project clearing it. This is going to be a 4-phase project, so we're just working on the first phase at this point, essentially from McDonald's or basically Sonic all the way through Walmart. And that will be the first phase of us clearing and dressing that up. We've worked with DOTD to help make sure that it's maintained after we've completed it. And then lastly, just sales tax. You can see that sales tax for the year is up 5.45%, and sales tax for the month of June was up 2.93. Again, overall, 5.45%. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Okay, here are the ordinances, resolutions. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Gordon.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank Dwayne Foray for starting his restroom cleanup, and I know the many residents in Booty will be happy to see that the project has started, so I definitely want to thank Dwayne for that, for seeing this project started. And I also want to thank there were two brush fires in Hornville within the past week or two. And I want to thank the Hornville Fire Department, in addition to the other departments that also helped with those brush bans that were in Hornville. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Okay, here are the ordinances, resolutions introduced for publication. Number 2023-0212, 2023-0214, 2023-0215, 2023-0216, 2023-0218, 2023-0219. Okay, the next order of business is planning and zoning. Item number 2023-0195, an ordinance to amend the St. Charles Parish zoning ordinance of 1981 to change the zoning classification from C3 to R1AM on Lot 5, Block C, Boots subdivision, as shown on the survey by E.M. Collier, dated August 12, 1968, at 429 Good Children Street, Booty, as requested by Melanie Johnson. Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The request is to take the property from C3 Highway Commercial to R1 AM. The property owner has had a mobile home or home on the site for a long period of time. After the storm, it was removed and the time lapsed on the non-conforming status. So we recommend this based on the criteria and on the appropriateness of returning that home to the site. The rest of Good Children Street on that side is zoned similarly. The Planning Commission also supports the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. File number 2023-0195 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? Ms. Fonseca?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Michael, I'd just like to thank you and your staff and Parish President Jewell. Ms. Johnson had contacted me with the issue, and I appreciate y'all working with her to help her through the process and to get to this point where she can get back on her property with her new home. Thank you.
Is there any additional council discussion? Ms. Gordon?
Yes, I want to ditto Ms. Fonseca as well. And also, this is a part of my district, and I'm in full support.
Okay. Please cast your votes for file number 2023-0195.
We did it.
Mm-hmm.
And that vote passes with Councilwoman Fisher Cormier out for the rest of the evening. Thank you. Item number 2023-0196, an ordinance to amend the St. Charles Parish zoning ordinance of 1981 to change the zoning classification from C3 to M1 on two triangular lots designated a portion of lots 7, 8, and 9 of the John Lambert tract, or lots 55, 56, 57, and 58, Almedia Town Sites, Section A, as shown on the survey by Cody A. DeMarco, PLS, dated December 16, 2020, 275 at I-310 Service Road, St. Rose, as requested by Conrad Fry for Southern Trucking and Transportation, LLC. Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The request is to go from C3 to M1 Light Industrial. The request meets 2 out of the 3 criteria. The department, as well as the commission, recommended approval. When you're looking at the maps, there's a few places in between these lots. The reason it's two lots, there's power lines and train tracks separating some of the things here. So it is adjacent to other M1 in the area.
Okay, thank you. File number 2023-0196 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Is there any council discussion? Ms. Belloc.
Mr. Albert, you mentioned that there's this lot in between 275, the shape of the triangle. Have you had any complaints or anything about this lot that's in between?
No, I don't think it's a formal lot. It's more of a Entergy right-of-way. The map on page 38 kind of shows that a little bit better. And then the tracks separate it from the other M1 area.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belloc. Is there any additional council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0196. And that passes unanimously. Okay, ordinances scheduled for public hearing introduced at a previous meeting. Item number 2023-0194, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances to revise Chapter 15, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Section 15-9, speed limits, A, to provide the exception to the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, to raise the speed limit on River Road Drive in Riverwood, St. Rose, to 20 miles per hour. Ms. Belloc.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I've gotten quite a few calls from residents that live on Riverwood, of course, complaining about getting speeding tickets because of the current speed limit. So I did a survey, and out of that survey, we found out that more people wanted to get the speed limit raised. So that's what we did from the survey, and I'm asking you to support this. We did the survey through the whole subdivision, and we got the report back. More people wanted it than not. So thank you for your support.
Okay, file number 2023-0194 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up regarding this, speak regarding this issue, please do so now. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Is there any additional council discussion? Okay, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0194. That passes unanimously. Item number 2023-0203, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of a contract with Quality Court Industries, LLC, for improvements to the West Bank Bridge Park tennis and pickleball courts, project number REC WBI 22, in the amount of $435,132. Mr. Foray.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council, Parish President Jew. So this is the final component of our Phase 1. If you remember last council meeting, we had our first two components. This will be the last component of that Phase 1 upgrades at our wonderful West Bank Bridge Park, which is going to be 2 brand-new tennis courts and 4 pickleball courts. So we already have the lighting and fencing in the other 2 components, so I'd ask for your support for this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foray. File number 2023-0203 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Crystal Cantrell, 318 Lakewood Drive in Luling. I have been a coach for the tennis rec department for the past 8 years, and I've actually been the leader for the last almost 4. We started off with about 26 kids in the tennis program. In the spring, this past spring season, we had the biggest group we've ever had at 63. and this fall we have 84 signed up. So we really need the tennis courts. Monsanto is our biggest courts. We use both bridge parks in the fall and in the spring. And I hear pickleball's pretty cool too. So
Thank you very much. Okay, is there any additional public hearing? Okay. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Any council discussion? Ms. Cluley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Foray, for this contract, the construction of these courts, is this going to be from the ground up, or is this resurfacing, and some of them are brand new, or?
We're going to overlay it to save some money like we talked about in some previous meetings. We overlay in the tennis courts, but it's going to be brand new cement on top. The tennis courts and then the pickleball addition will be all new cement. But it's going to be like brand new cement.
Well,
It's no overlay. We do need to look at overlay in Monsanto. It has been a while since we did overlay that. And like Krista, we could not run our program without the help of Krista and many volunteers. So kudos to her for coming tonight and saying what we got going here in St. Charles Parish.
Thank you.
Mr. Dufresne?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Cluley beat me to the punch. I was asking if it was from the ground up or they were already existing. But the pickle courts are going to be brand new, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But new concrete is going on top of the existing tennis
Glad you
courts. So
said
we talked about that. Huh?
Concrete, not cement. Cement is a substance in concrete. So while we
Please
on
forgive
construction,
me, sir.
because when we talked about this one time, about a sidewalk at the Paradise Library, and I said, that's an
cement?
exorbitant, but that's an exorbitant rate we paid. $27 a square foot for a terrible job. No joints, no rebar, it's not even tied in. You know what these guys are doing on their 4-inch concrete? And it's written up correctly. It says 4-inch concrete with joints with 6-inch of compacted sand underneath, $12 a square foot. Remember I told you that was the going rate? So I don't remember who we gave that deal to, but we can't do that anymore. They doubled up on us.
Well, dude, I mean,
you
wanted
told
it
me in
done,
our
we got it
conversation.
done.
Listen,
I mean,
in our
sometimes
conversation, you said, I don't really know a bunch about concrete.
And I said
Educate
that,
me.
outstanding,
So
and I don't know, and I will not learn a lot about concrete
I just
going
wanted
forward.
to educate you on that.
But yeah, you wanted the sidewalk, we got it done.
Yeah, well, it's not going to work.
We didn't want it because we don't have sidewalks to a lot of playground sets.
Get to the place. It was underwater half the time. Thank you.
All right.
Is there any additional council discussion? Okay, seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2023-0203. And that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, up next was to be item number 2023-0213, Miss Mary Becky Thomas, air quality issue from midstream offloading of bulk concrete. Ms. Thomas reached out and said she could not be here this evening, so we will now move on. Appointments. Item number 2023-0191, a resolution appointing a member of the St. Charles Parish Communications District representing St. Charles Parish Council. The council chairwoman will accept nominations to the St. Charles Parish Communications District representing St. Charles Parish Council to fill the vacancy caused by the resignation of term by Mr. Kenny Winning Jr., unexpired term to begin immediately and expire August 19th, 2026. This was deferred from the July 31st, 2023 Parish Council meeting. Are there any nominations? Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to put the nomination of Chief Michael Heath, of the Norco Fire Department.
Chief Michael Heath. Okay, and a motion and a second is needed to close nominations. A motion by Mr. Gibbs and a second by Ms. Fonseca. Please cast your votes to close nominations. And that motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Heath. Item number 2023-0192, a resolution appointing the member of the Industrial Development Board. Councilwoman will accept nominations to the Industrial Development Board to fill the vacancy created by the expiration of the term of Mr. Timothy Vial, a 6-year term to begin October 1st, 2023, and expire October 1st, 2029. Are there nominations? Who could? Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I spoke with Mr. Vial, and he would like to be reappointed, so I nominate Mr. Timothy Vial.
Okay, Mr. Timothy Vial is nominated. I need a second. Actually, Ms. Belloc.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Jahilda Lewis Crawford.
Could you say the first name again?
Jahilda Lewis Crawford.
All right, we have a nomination of Mr. Timothy Vial and Ms. Jahilda Crawford. A motion and a second is needed to close nominations. I have a motion by Mr. Fisher and a second by Ms. Cluley. Please cast your vote to close the nominations. And that passes unanimously. Item number 2023-0193, a resolution appointing a member of the Industrial Development Board. Council Chairwoman will accept nominations to the Industrial Development Chair Board to fill a vacancy created by the expiration of the term of Mr. Billy Raymond, a 6-year term to begin October 1st, 2023, and expire October 1st, 2029. Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I spoke with Mr. Raymond, and he would like to be renominated, so I nominate Mr. Billy Raymond.
Mr. Billy Raymond has been nominated. A motion and a second is needed to close nominations. I have a motion by Ms. Cluley and a second by Mr. Fisher. Please cast your vote to close nominations. And that passes unanimously. Meetings, announcements, notices, etc. Meetings, Board of Adjustment, ZBA, Thursday, August 17th, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chambers. Pontchartrain Levy District, Monday, August 21st, 2023, 6 p.m., Pontchartrain Levy District Headquarters Complex at 2069 Railroad Avenue, Letcher. St. Charles Parish Council, Monday, August 28th, 2023, 6 p.m., Council Chambers. Announcements, important dates for the October 14, 2023 election. Wednesday, September 13th, 2023, is the last day to register to vote in person or by mail. Saturday, September 23rd, 2023, is the last day to register to vote online at govote.com. Tuesday, October 10th, 2023, is the last day to request absentee by mail ballots. Early voting, Saturday, September 30th, 2023, Monday, October 2nd through Saturday, October 4th, 2023, 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., West Bank Courthouse, 15045 River Road, Hawnville, East Bank, Arterbury Building, 15464 River Road, New Sarpy. Ms. Cluley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to thank the multiple candidates that chose to qualify to run for the multiple offices in our parish, because the only way we continue to improve is by having great candidates choose to run for office. So thank you all that qualified, and good luck on your races.
Thank you, Ms. Cluley. Where was I here? Friday, October 13th, 2023, the last day for register to receive a voted absentee ballot. Saturday, October 14th, 2023, Election Day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Adjournment. A motion and a second is needed to adjourn. I have a motion by Mr. Fisher, and a second by Mr. Dufresne. Please cast your votes to adjourn. And that passes unanimously. Have a great evening. We are officially adjourned.